So Lily, are you guys looking for something to do? We've got to bag the spinach. If you just want to grab some of the white bags from over there, you can just bring the spinach out here and start bagging. We opened Liliana's on Lily's first birthday. Lily's now 13. Everything made out of wood I built, you know, with my own hands, and I did it with Lily in a baby carrier on my back. It's really hard to see something that you put your whole life and all of your energy and everything into completely empty. The first day of the shutdown, and I was just in my dining room, just seeing it empty, man, I was just in the corner and just cried. I mean, especially when it first shut down, we didn't know if that was gonna be for a week or a month or a year, or we didn't know if it would ever open up again. You know, so that was really tough, trying to picture what life was gonna look like in the future. It's been pretty nuts having our dining room turning into basically a packing facility. You know, I never thought like a room with like chandeliers and floor to ceiling lights and all that would turn into packing for produce, but you know, we do what we can. So they're called Nom 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 kits. It's kind of like a mix between a meal kit and a CSA. So instead of a single CSA that supports just one farm, we as restaurateurs wanted to support as many of our farms that really we depend on and they depend on us to try and get together a whole box every single week, each with whatever is coming up in season, to not only showcase beautiful Wisconsin agriculture, but also to showcase how amazing our small farms are and kind of how in jeopardy they are. And we're just gonna take a nice little one small bunch of asparagus that's about as big as my hand will hold. So I guess like 2 Lily hands. And we're just gonna put it through the wrap and pull it tight and then just wrap it up. We had farmers reaching out to us asking, can you buy anything? Is there anything you can do? We've only been doing it a month. And then just since we started doing this program, we've been able to put out $60,000 into our local farming community, which to me is incredible. That's an entire like 6 months of our normal spend that we've been able to inject into our local farming community in a very short time. And now we've got 160 boxes we're doing today. So for this box, we have Farmer John's aged cheddar. We have Meadowlark Organics for our polenta, most gorgeous cornmeal, and it leaves the most like beautiful mouth texture ever. So it's absolutely gorgeous. I'll make sure they don't repackage this one. We have these beautiful trumpet mushrooms and oyster mushrooms from Mushroom Mike. We have Dreamy 280, which is a beautiful little beef farm. Wonderful, beautiful asparagus from a guy named Bruce. This is like some of the best asparagus. It's gorgeous. It just got picked yesterday. And even down at the like end that's normally woody, it's like perfectly tender and amazing. And then out front, here, check these out. Gorgeous heirloom tomatoes, you know? I mean, obviously tomatoes aren't even in season yet, but he's able to grow them all in a hoop house. And then these were all picked yesterday. We started up this box kind of on the fly. I mean, we put it all together within about a week and a half, which, you know, normally if I were to be doing a program like this would be like, let's do it in 3 months, plan out the seasonality, and then this was much more just, there's a need and we have to fill it. Okay, cheese, 2, 4, mushrooms, pea shoots, asparagus, polenta. Oh, look at that. We're gonna take a little picture of that. Small restaurants are so good at going with the flow and kind of like thinking on our feet. At Liliana's, we've had a lot of great support. As long as people keep supporting us in takeout, that's what we're gonna keep on doing. You know, most meal kits are basically reheat, so we try to make them a little more challenging, but still accessible. We've had so many people who are like, I've never cooked duck before. So it's a way to kind of make it more challenging than an average meal kit. First, I start with what ingredients are out there, and then I kind of take those ingredients and I put the dish together. So my box, I kind of wanted to do a play on like a Cajun version of Swedish meatballs. So we got Farmer John's aged cheddar in with polenta and sassy cow cream. And then we're taking some of these Mushroom Mike's mushrooms, Don's produce tomatoes, and some spinach from roots down. So it's grits, that vegetable mix, and then the meatballs with the sauce. We decided we wanted to do 2 dishes this week, so we're also doing an asparagus bisque with a little chili oil. This is not a 30 ingredient soup, it's literally just cream and milk and asparagus and a little butter, salt and pepper. And this one we're gonna do half the milk, and we're gonna put the other half the milk in this one over here. So this is gonna be our asparagus bisque, and this is gonna be our polenta. And then we're gonna take our cream, and we're gonna divide that equally among both. Cream makes everything better. So we're just gonna whisk that up a little bit. So that was our jalapeno honey butter. And then I'm also into this one that's gonna have our polenta in it. I'm gonna put in some of our Cajun seasoning we make from scratch. Sound like the KFC guy, but we got 11 different herbs and spices that go into ours. Is mostly salt and paprika and cayenne. And now all I'm gonna do is, with that milk and cream, we're just gonna put in the asparagus. And we're just gonna let that kind of steep in there, like tea. Okay, and then this has come up to a simmer. And then once it starts to steam a little bit, then we're gonna start putting in our polenta. And this is gonna make our delicious grits. Once it starts to thicken up, we're gonna kill our heat. And just keep on stirring, and that'll keep it, again, from kind of clumping. And it's gonna start to kind of firm up on you. So this is the Farmer John cheddar. So you got the Cajun seasoning coming in, you got the oregano and the thyme, onion powder, garlic powder, paprika. I mean, all those flavors come up and hit you. You can smell the butter. You can smell that little bit of jalapeno. We'll take the remainder of that butter and we're just gonna put it right here in that pan. We want the butter to just kind of like heat through those jalapenos. We're just gonna take some of these mushrooms. And then we wanna add just a little bit more of that Cajun seasoning, and you wanna put it in when the pan's at its hottest, which is gonna be right about now. And that'll bring out more of the flavor from the oil. You just wanna kind of like soften them up a little bit, get a tiny little bit of caramelization on, but mostly it's just to kind of wake up those spices that are in there. We're gonna take our tomatoes. These are those beautiful heirloom tomatoes from outside. And we're gonna take our spinach, cover up our mushrooms and tomatoes. We're gonna let that just kind of steam up a little bit. So now we're still letting this asparagus steep in that cream and milk. Look how bright green that is though, you know? Let's actually go back, we'll stick blend this up. I'm gonna grab my spoon. So here is all we're gonna do for plating. We're gonna have a little chili oil. There we go. The whole point for me for this soup is like, you just want asparagus. Like that's the flavor you want. We're not trying to hide this with a bunch of different stuff, so you can taste just like how wonderful that is. And I think that's the key. For me, it's about taking that one ingredient and just making it shine, you know? When you're working with local farms, it's all about what's available, how can I use it? Yep. That's what we wanted. Trick to making good meatballs, having the right amount of binder is really key. So we did ground beef with Cajun seasoning and panko breadcrumbs, and we're just gonna use up the rest of that chili oil. So some people think the more binder you put in, the drier it's gonna be, but the binder actually helps to hold all of that wonderful fat in and kind of soaks it up like a sponge. And then consistency is super important. So we used a portion scooper to make sure that they're the same. Otherwise, if you have some this big and some half that big, you're gonna end up with like some that are like overcooked and some that are raw. In our packs, each chef made a sauce that was one of their signature sauces or something they were really proud of. Instead of doing kind of the traditional like mushroom creamy sauce, we did a Creole Meuniere. We're just adding a little white wine to it to kind of thin it out a little bit. But it's a pan sauce traditionally done in Creole cooking, usually with like a fish. We're kind of doing our version of that, and it's got Worcestershire, cream, shallots, leeks. The sauce is what ties it all together. That's what like makes you remember a dish forever. I'm gonna take these meatballs right out of the oven. Oh yeah, baby. And we're just gonna slide them on in. Gotta get some of that good oil in there too, man. Take all of this Laurier spinach, we just wilted it. So we're just gonna kind of fold that in, and then we're putting it on top of Farmer John cheddar grits. Just a pinch of the mushroom tomato, and some of that spinach, and rim a little bit. You know, anything that you do, if you don't do it with love and passion, then you shouldn't be doing it. If you don't love it, get out, man. Get out fast. Life is short.